Now these poly panels came off the old greenhouse and they were custom fit. I custom cut them for the old greenhouse. And so these are the ones I'm going to try to reuse on the new mini greenhouse that I'm building. And so they may not line up perfectly, and I might have to spin them different ways and stuff. But I want to try to reuse these. I did build them. I did kind of lay this new mini greenhouse out to accept glass, and that down the road, that's what I want to use. But for now, I'm just going to do the best I can with this, and just get me through the summer, and then maybe in the fall I'll make some glass panels for it. Okay, first I'm going to build the base. I cut 4 2x4s, 44 inches long, 4 of them at 41 inches long, and 12 25 inches long. Yeah, there's only 4 in the picture, but I did cut 12 of them. So I built 4 sides. 2 of them are 41 inches by 28 inches, and 2 of them are 44 inches by 28 inches. Assembling them, I screwed the smaller ones to the inside of the larger ones. This gave me an overall dimension of 48 inches by 44 inches by 28 inches tall. I grabbed some scrap 2x2 to screw across the inside to give me some support when I put the wire mesh down. For the middle section, I decided to rip some 2x4s into 2x3s, making them 1.5 by 2.5 inches. I cut 4 of them at 48 inches, 4 of them at 45 inches, and 12 of them at 36 inches. However, 2 of the 45-inch ones should be regular 2x4s. I'll explain that a little later. So here we have 2 pieces at 48 inches by 39 inches and 2 pieces at 45 inches by 39 inches. And again, I screwed the smaller ones to the inside of the larger ones. Okay, so here's where I screwed up. When I laid this out on paper, I considered using the top. I considered using 2x4s on the top. At the last minute, I decided to use 2x3s, which work out to 1.5 inches by 2.5, which it should have been 3.5 inches. So that way I would have caught this 2x4 by another inch to be able to screw it into the base. The bottom of this one should have been a 2x4. So everything else would be the same except for that. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to replace this one and that one with an actual 2x4, and the problem would be completely solved. So if I did the math correctly, which I think I did, I am catching the base by 1.5 inches all the way around. I found a bunch of welding wire fencing to use on the inside rather than plywood. This will allow for plenty of airflow. I crisscrossed them to make the holes smaller. You know, in trying to decide what kind of roof I wanted to put on this, I had almost settled on a traditional one with, the 2 sides with a ridge pole in the center, and because I wanted to make it look nice. But then I thought that's really stupid because this is for seedlings. This is a greenhouse, and so I want to take as much advantage of the sun as I can. So I had decided that I'm going to go with like a shed type roof. So it's just going to be slanted this way, and so it's going to be higher on this end. So what I did was I went and cut a 1 foot by 4 foot piece that goes on here, and then my rafters are going to go just straight down. So I'm going to get full sun on the whole roof instead of just instead of just half. If I had a traditional one, the north side here would be wasted. So that's what I've decided on, just a shed type roof. So now I'm going to go ahead and just use 2x2s on the roof also. I am going to bevel these, but I'm not going to do any math. I'm just doing it this way. I think sometimes we overcomplicate things. So just like that, I'm going to cut 3 of these. Just going to cut right on the line. Yeah, I'm just going to use 3. Now, if you're wondering why I'm kind of sparse, unlike my rafters and on my studs and whatnot, it's because I want to let in as much light as I can. So I want to minimize the amount of wood that I'm using on this. So it's going to be plenty sturdy, so I'm not worried about that. So I'm going to cut 3 of these. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and screw these down. I'm going to center this perfectly on the middle one here, right on this beam here. And whenever I drill through 2x2s, I always make sure I pre-drill. So I'm going to screw right down into here and right down into here. You know what? I think I'm going to cut another piece here for this. I should have done that. Well, yeah, I'm going to cut another piece here. I should have put 3 here. Yeah, that was smart. Yeah, I don't like having a toenail, but I screwed up by not putting a center one in here, so. Okay, so I put more screws in there, you know, as many as feasibly possible without blowing out those 2x2s, but it's nice and solid. So the next thing, this north side here is going to be solid. So I'm going to cut a piece of plywood. Now, it's going to be completely covered, but I'm going to make the back plywood piece, I'm going to make it in 2 pieces. So one's going to go here. So I'm going to cut it, what's that, 13 and a half inches. So I'm going to cut a piece 13 and a half inches by 4 feet. Just some old scrap plywood that I have laying around. And what that's going to do is, actually, I think I'm going to come down halfway onto this 2x2, so it's actually coming down to the middle piece. So because this whole thing is modular, I have the bottom, the middle, and the top. So instead of the 12, 13 and a half, I'm going to go 14 and a half. That way I'm catching this one by 1 inch. So 14 and a half by 4 feet. And I'm just going to attach it with some little 1.5 inch galvanized nails. Now I'm going to actually paint this thing at some point, but right now, because this whole COVID-19 thing and, you know, don't go to the store unless, you know, it's essential. So I'm not going to the hardware store for anything unless I really need it. So I will go get some paint. And the poly panels are going to be screwed in. So I can take those off at any time because I do plan on replacing them with, looks like a little blowout. I do plan on replacing them with some glass eventually. Now, if you're building this, you don't have to use those poly panels. You can wrap this thing with any kind of plastic that rolled
6 mil sheeting or 8 mil sheeting, whatever it is, and you'll be good to go. Just wrap it around a couple or 3 times, and if you need to, you can put in extra bracing if you want. You may want to take a plane and take off the sharp edge here because it may rip the plastic. So I would just bevel this, round it off a little bit. And same thing on the corners, but I have those poly panels that I'm going to reuse. So, but this being modular, you can change where the studs are and everything. This is just kind of giving you an idea, a rough draft. So if you wanted to, you could just adapt it to yourself. Now when I'm running these, I know you may think this is kind of strange that they should be running vertical. But the problem with that is that these were custom cut and they don't fall. This is 4 feet wide and they don't fall on this beam. So they're the rafter. If I would turn them around, I'd have to put 2 of these in, and I want as much sun as I can possibly get. So I'm not going to put 2 of these in and block. I know it's not much. I'm not blocking much, but as I said before, this eventually is going to have glass put in it. And this is only temporary. So I want to reuse these for now because I have them. And if water comes down and runs into here, I don't care. It'll water my plants. The only thing it may do, I don't want water running on these rafters because it may eventually just, they'll get rotted eventually. But I'm not really overly concerned about it because I just got to get through the spring here. And then, so I'm only going to have like a month of rain. So these here are only going to be temporary. So what I'll do is I want to cantilever them over about 1 inch. So what I will do is I will bring it over 2 inches here and then score it. And that way I'll have an extra inch. I move it over here 1 inch. Okay, so the screws I'm going to use are these self-tapping grommeted. It's got the little rubber washer on them. Now these came off the old greenhouse. Now they're self-tapping, so typically they go into metal, but I don't know if they'll drive into wood, but I'm going to give them a try. If these don't go into the wood well, then what I'll do is I'll take these washers, rubber washers off, and then just put them on regular screw heads and then drive them in that way. But so it's a 5/16 driver bit in my drill, and let's give it a try. Okay, let's give this a try. Whoa, look at that, just like butter. Okay, that was a close one. I realized that if I put the top on, I wouldn't be able to measure these and cut the angle that I needed for the side pieces. So I better do this first. Yeah, and this is all gummed up. See, this is what happens when you reuse stuff, but it's all right. I'm gonna cut it anyways. Wow. Not too bad. Okay, the lid is done. And now I'm going to just finish off the sides here. Okay, so I found another scrap piece of plywood here. I'm going to finish off all of the plastic paneling before I do the back door. Okay, I sound like I'm in a closet. You notice I have double protection. I have my safety glasses and my face shield when I'm cutting this plastic, because I am too paranoid about getting junk in my eyes. Well, I did have barely enough panels left over from the old greenhouse to finish this. I did have to piecemeal a couple spots, but it worked out fine. And I've only got just a little bit left. Let me show you what's left. Is that sad? That's all that's left of the old greenhouse. Because those panels they just kind of rot away after a while. I mean I shouldn't complain. I had that thing for like 10 years, but onward and upward, that's all that's left of the old greenhouse. Okay, so for the doors, I have a bunch of these 1x6 cedar fencing. So I'm going to make 2 doors that are 2 feet by about 38 3/4. And each one of these is 5.5 inches. And so what I'm going to do is they're 2 feet long, and I'm going to make 2 of these. So I'm not going to clamp this together, because what happens is if there's a little bit of moisture in here and you clamp it and then screw it down, because it's so tight, it'll start to warp. So I'm going to leave these kind of loose, and I cut a bunch of these from the fence boards, and they're 2 inches wide. So I'm going to go all the way around each one of these with this 2-inch strip. Okay, I don't know what I was thinking. I don't need any pieces across here. I thought about putting them in because I didn't want it to twist. That would keep it from twisting. But I'm just going to put one long piece in, one actually wide like this piece in here to hold it. And one thing also too, I didn't have any 1-inch screws, so the backs of these are a little bit, they're sticking out just a hair. And so I'm just going to take a file and file those down real quick. I'm not going to run to the hardware store just for some 1-inch screws. So I think it's pretty stiff. So just one piece across here will be just fine. And that'll be one door, and then I'll make the other one, and then I'm going to go ahead and put them on. Okay, so there are both doors. Now, one thing about this is really great, that if these aren't perfectly square, which they're pretty close, I can always run it down the table saw and take off an edge or whatever if it's not perfect, but they're fine. Now, let me explain to you how stupid I am. When I did these bracings, I thought it'd be nice to have one bracing go this way and one go this way. So when I put them together, I thought, well, that's okay, because I'll just put it on and then I'll just flip it around. So I flip it around. Here, let me show you that again. Flip it around. That's how stupid I am. In order for it to be right, I'd have to flip it over. So they're both exactly the same. I'm not going to take this off just to spin it that way. So they look exactly the same, but that's fine. Dopey me. You guys are going to like it in here. Whew. All right, well, I still have to go to the hardware store and get some matching hinges and get a clasp and a couple handles. But for right now, this is going to work great. Now, we're still getting down in the high 20s, low 30s at night. So I do have 3 heat mats that I'm going to put in here, and then just send the wire down through and put a hole out the bottom to keep all the seedlings warm, to keep them from freezing at night. But during the day, I'll probably open these things up. And I also am planning on putting some ventilation in on the sides. And but for right now, I don't have anything that I can put in there, and I'll have to go to the hardware store. All right, thanks a lot for watching, guys. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and then hit the little bell for notifications, so when I upload new videos, you'll get notified. And yeah. All right, thanks a lot, guys. We'll catch you later.